We back. I'm here on Mudae today, and we're talking about tower and kakara loops. Which should you buy first? This is something I've gone over a good few times before, originally in my kakara bank video, which I believe came out at the same time that Kakera Towers came out, and then also in other more overarching videos about the entirety of Mudae. But this is still a question that I get asked a lot, and so I thought I would make a dedicated video to answering it and the reasons why. So the simple answer is you should buy towers first. Towers come with a lot of great upgrades that are much easier to get than the Kakera loot ones. The ones you're looking for is level 7, level 8, level 10, and level 11. You'll notice that some of mine are a little different. For example, my level 8 is about getting extra keys on wishes, because I've already maxed out level 8 on this particular server. But normally it's about getting extra kakara, and extra kakara is definitely what you want. So those are the main ones to go for. Depending on your wish protect, you might want level 1, that's entirely dependent on server levels, and other such things. If you want more info on towers specifically, check out my video on towers. However, kakara loots are also good. If we check my KLs on this server, for instance, you can see I've got a good few extra wish lists, minus 15 hours RT cooldown. That's from 20 hours, remember, so that's from 20 down to 5, which is pretty fantastic. 19 permanent laws. And this stuff isn't too impressive because I've only got 7,000 KLs used on this server, but it's just an example. So you may be thinking, well, it looks like Kakera loots is so much better than towers. You should probably buy those first. But hang on a second, because before we talk about that, we first have to talk about the upgrades, quantity and quality. In order to be most efficient with your Kakera, you're going to want to buy these and max them out before you buy too many KLs, because these will basically double the rewards that you get from your kakara loots, each of them. Quantity will double all the rewards, quality doubles the percentage chance of getting better rewards. So for things like the perm rolls, the RT cooldown, the wishlist slots, they're the ones that you want, obviously. Quality does also double it. It doesn't double rolls stacked and stuff like that, so technically quantity is a little better. Anyway, you want to buy both of them, and you want to max them out before you use too many KLs. It's not a problem if you use 50 or 100 KLs before you get the upgrades, but you don't want to go and use 1,000 KLs before you've upgraded this stuff, because you're missing out on a lot of stuff. However, buying these upgrades to max level, which is level 100, that costs a lot of kakara. It costs 2 million specifically. Around that. It's actually a little bit over 2 million. It's maybe like 2.1 million, something like that. And of course, buying these upgrades in themselves don't do anything. All they do is make your KLs better. So when you do max them out, what you're going to want to do is have a little bit of leftover kakara in order to use KLs. How do we go about doing this? Well, now we turn back to tower. There is a command for tower called destroy, which does what you would imagine it do. All your tower levels will be reset and kakara will be refunded. Now, you don't need admin perms or mod perms or anything like that to use the destroy command. You can just use the destroy command anytime you like. It does have a cooldown of 20 hours per player, so it's not abused, but you can just use it if you want. And this is pretty helpful, because what it means, you can store all your kakara away in your tower and get some upgrades while it's there. And then once you have enough kakara saved up to max out these upgrades, you can destroy your tower, max out the upgrades, and buy a bunch of KLs. That is where you get the stonks, because now suddenly you've immediately got max upgrades, you spend a bunch of kakara into KLs, and you probably just max out your RT cooldown or something like that. It's pretty nice. Would recommend. So how much kakara should you save up in the tower before moving over to kakara loots? Well, it's about 3 million. Reasons for this. Firstly, costs 2.1 million-ish to max out your quantity and quality. Secondly, you're going to want some kakara left over to use KLs after you've maxed them out. Thirdly, the Kakera tower upgrades get more expensive as they go on. So getting the first tower or so is actually really cheap for the upgrades that you get. Obviously, at this point, where I am here, they start to get a bit more expensive, and buying a single tower floor isn't so great. But in the first tower, they're really good upgrades. So you're going to want to have a bit of Kakera left over, actually, to put back into your tower. So that's where the 3 million number comes from. Of course, it's a rough estimate. If you've got 2.5 million and you want to go for it already, you can do. You're just not going to have as much Kakera to spend on your loots and to spend on your tower. You have to consider something. What's worth more in terms of upgrades? Is it 2.5 million Kakera in your tower, or is it 400,000 Kakera split between your tower and your KRs? I'd probably take the 2.5 million Kakera in the tower, personally. So that's why I say 3 million. You need to get enough spare Kakera after removing that 2.1 million for these upgrades that is actually worth doing. So that's when you then switch over to Kakera loots. After that, what are you buying? Are you buying Kakera loots or are you buying tower? Actually, a bit of both. Once you've got your upgrades here, Kakera loots are very much worth doing. The RT cooldown will eventually get maxed out. 15 hours is the maximum for that, so I would highly recommend trying to max out that first. But once you've got that maxed out and you've got a couple towers ready to go, you just want to do a bit of both. Get some perm rolls from your Kakera loots and then get some perm rolls from your towers. Like I say, a bit of both is definitely the way to go, and the more upgrades you get, the more stuff you're going to get in Mudae. So that's basically that. That is how you do it. Yes, it does take a long time to save up 3 million Kakera without using Kakera loots. It's a bit of a grind, but trust me, when you've done it, it will be worth it. Also worth mentioning that it is not necessarily a bad idea if you upgrade these to like level 60 or 70 rather than 100, then do maybe 500 Kakera loots just to get yourself a few of these and then go back to saving in the tower. You can do that if you want. I'm honestly not sure if it's sufficient or not, because of course then you've got a bunch of Kakera stored up in your quantity and quality upgrades that isn't going to be used in your tower and also isn't used in your Kakera loots. But if you get some lucky drops, you get some nice perm rolls from them for your few hundred Kakera loots that you use, it might be worth doing. I wouldn't recommend using more than a few hundred even at that point though, because like I say, you're still losing efficiency. Even if you get these up to level 70 or something, you're only getting 70% of what you should be getting, right? So it's better if you can save up all the way to 100, but that's up to you. Feel free to experiment with it, and you can get yourself all the big upgrades. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. Hopefully that made things clear, and I will leave this video here. Bye!